Welcome back to the Astrocast. Thanks for joining me this week, guys. It's a little bit different than normal. As you can probably tell, we're on site. It's been a hectic time in my life these last few weeks. And if you happen to catch last week's show, you may realize I had opined about not having clear skies for nearly 2 full months. Almost all of Milky Way season down here in Charlotte. You can imagine my surprise when earlier today I pulled up the weather forecast app and saw a chance for clear skies for a couple of hours, and then even better chances very, very late into the night. I tempered my expectations though, because I unfortunately have work early tomorrow, and my only real chance to get out would be, early on. So if it wasn't clear at 10 o'clock, I wasn't gonna stand much of a chance this night. But as things turned out, it's very, very clear tonight in Charlotte. We can't always take advantage of the darkest skies available, and sometimes we gotta sit in our driveway in our front yard in our light polluted skies of suburbia, and sometimes that means planes flying overhead, every time you look up, and light domes coming from every direction on every horizon. But when the summer triangle is directly overhead and you let your eyes adjust for a while, sometimes if you're really lucky, you can catch a glimpse. I've got my R5 out on a simple tripod with a few different lenses to try. I've got all wide-angle lenses tonight. I considered bringing out a telescope with an ASI Air, but with tonight being what it is, I wanted to go for simplicity. Actually, last night I was standing in the same spot, and very briefly the clouds broke, and I was able to see the summer triangle. And I looked at the time, and I thought to myself that it had moved nearly 20 degrees in the night sky since the last time I had seen it at that very same time of the night. So it's just about 11 p.m. right now, and it's directly overhead. I've got Vega and Deneb sitting right above my two eyes. Arcturus is already behind the trees. Fall's coming. Saturn is already coming over the horizon. I can see it right there. Saturn's already up. One thing that I've really grown to love about astronomy is how you can truly feel the seasons changing as you see the planets move and the constellations move throughout the year. More so than you could ever feel with something like the weather getting colder or hotter. There's something elegant and special about watching the stars turn. There's little things that you pick up on as an astronomer that most people will go through their entire lives without ever really needing to know or needing to use. But we have them in our back pockets at all times. We don't need to know if we have a compass if we're lost, because we can find the North Star and we can always navigate from the constellations. We don't need a calendar to know what time of year it is. We only need to look up and see if Orion is looking down upon us. I think it's a gift that a lot of people don't get to appreciate. And it's a shame, because the deeper I get into the quote-unquote hobby of astronomy, the more I feel like it's everything. It's not just looking at the stars. It's not just taking pretty pictures. It's the study of everything. We'll never be able to step foot on another planet in our lifetimes. Not you or me. Perhaps the singularity will occur within the next 30 to 40 years, and some of the wealthiest of the wealthy will be able to do such a thing. But for the average person, such things are unattainable. And yet, we do that every single night. That we point our eyes, our telescopes, and our camera lenses towards the cosmos. That is the feeling that I wish I could share with everyone. When I try to explain why I love astronomy to someone who just doesn't get it, and I want them to get it, that's the feeling that I wish they could understand. The Perseids are still trailing off. I've seen one so far, but the moon's still up. I'll likely see a few more before the night's out, but I won't be able to stay up too late because life beckons. I think it's funny that we live in the time that we do, because we're lucky to have the tools that we do have and access to them. A lot of people say we're living in a golden age of astronomy and astrophotography, and I tend to agree. But life still gets in the way, as it does for all of us. And sometimes I wonder if I had unlimited resources, if I would be doing anything like what I'm doing right now. I can certainly tell you I would not be living under light polluted skies. If people only knew what they were missing, if they could only see the Milky Way one time from really, really great dark skies on new moon with good seeing. If you've ever seen it, then you know what I mean. That wow moment, that feeling that you get where you're just taken aback by the beauty of it. If everyone could see that for one night, we would not have light pollution problems any longer. Still waiting on this nova to occur. I worry that we're not going to be able to see the constellation that it's supposed to occur in much longer. It's the crown of something or other. I can't remember the name right now, but fairly certain it's getting very low on the horizon, at least in my neck of the woods by now. Do you ever wonder what it was like for the great old astronomers, the Newtons and the Galileos, what it was like for the Charles Messiers to discover one thing after another? How incredible would it be to just discover one thing? One thing. And yet there are groups of amateur astronomers and solo astrophotographers that are doing this all the time now, thanks to the tools that we have access to. The new nebula found in Andromeda this past year is shocking that no one found it. Makes you wonder if you could just sample these individual bands of light from all different points in the sky for 30, 40 hours at a time, what you'd come up with. I think for me, I need to be with my telescope. I thought long and hard over the last few weeks about shipping it out somewhere and having access to incredible skies from my computer monitor 24/7, I guess I should say. But if I'm not hands-on with my tools, then I don't feel like I'm truly producing. Even though it's my gear that's 1,000 miles away, I don't know. Maybe that's a deeper ego issue that I need to look into. It's certainly not data sets from Telescope Live. Though after 2 months of cloudy nights, one could not be blamed if they ventured in that way. The cicadas finally made their way to Charlotte. They talked about these broods emerging for months leading up to this summer. And I drove around the city and heard them in different parts of town, down in the observatory in Kershaw, South Carolina, but not in my little neck of the woods town. And then one day they just appeared. And they are just as loud as they can be. I hope you guys have all got to see the sky a few times over the summer. I know it hasn't been wonderful. I know that there's been a lot of cloudy nights on the East Coast and a lot of wildfires on the West Coast. But I hope that we've all had at least a few special nights, and just remember that winter is coming. As the famous family once said. What were their names from Game of Thrones? House Stark. And along with it comes clearer skies, longer, darker nights, less clouds, etc., etc. It's just a shame, though, because I had so many targets I wanted to get this summer. You make plans for 40-hour projects that you want to hit. You know, I'm going to do 40 hours on X Nebula. Nope. I need one of you guys to draw Captain Cumulus. If you remember, he is the astronomy superhero that was invented on my last dark sky trip. He arrives on cloudy nights and slaps clouds away. That's his power. Captain Cumulus. Anyway, guys, I'd love to talk to you all night, but I want to take a few more pictures and enjoy this one clear night that I've received. I'll be back next week and we'll have a normal episode, but I almost couldn't do one this week, but I wanted to do something, and I thought this would be cool. So I hope you have enjoyed it. Clear skies.